The woman who gave me up at 3 days old showed up at my father's funeral with a lawyer. I remember first time I saw her, not as a baby, of course, but in a single photograph my dad kept. It was tucked in the back of his wallet, behind his driver's license. A faded picture of a young woman with long, dark hair and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I found it when I was 7, digging for change for ice cream. "Who's this?" I'd asked. Dad had gone very still, then took the photo gently. "That's your mother, Maya," he'd said, his voice soft. "She wasn't ready for us, kiddo, but we're doing just fine, aren't we?" And we were. We were more than fine. My dad, Samuel, was my whole world. Mom, Maya, got pregnant in her final year of university. Dad was a year ahead, already accepted into a graduate program. According to Dad, it was a shock, but he was thrilled. He saw a family. She saw a catastrophe. She carried me to term, handed me to him in the hospital, signed away all parental rights, and walked away. Her parting words, as Dad recounted them years later on a particularly difficult night, were, "I'm not throwing my future away for a lapse in judgment. You deal with it." And he did. He deferred his grad school offer, took a job as a night manager at a warehouse, and raised me with a fierce, unwavering devotion of 2 parents. His own parents, my Nana and Grandpa, lived nearby and were our bedrock. I never lacked for love. Dad worked brutal hours, but was present for every milestone. He learned to French braid my hair for ballet recitals, helped me build dioramas of ancient Rome, and sat through endless school concerts, beaming from front row. He eventually finished his degree at night, a process that took nearly a decade. He built a good, stable life for us through sheer force of will. Maya, as I learned, finished her degree on schedule, traveled, and built a career in fashion public relations. She never called, never sent a card. She was a ghost, a story. I told curious classmates she lived abroad. It was simpler. She reappeared when I was 16, not with a heartfelt letter or a cautious phone call, but in person on our doorstep one Saturday afternoon. Dad had just been promoted to a senior position at the engineering firm. We'd moved from our cozy townhouse to a proper house with a big backyard. Success, after years of struggle, had finally settled around his shoulders. And there she was, Maya. She looked like a magazine version of the woman in the wallet photo. Sharper, more expensive, impeccably styled. She smiled at Dad, a practiced, bright thing. "Sam," she'd said, "look at you." Her eyes flicked to me, standing behind him. "And this must be Grace. My God, she looks just like you." I felt nothing but cold suspicion. Her gaze felt like an appraisal, not a greeting. She brought a gift, a trendy perfume set for teens, something I had zero interest in. She spent the visit animatedly talking to Dad about old times, laughing too loudly, touching his arm. I was furniture, against the vehement advice of my grandparents. Dad let her back in. I think a part of him had never stopped loving the idea of her, the memory of the girl he'd fallen for. He was a pragmatist in every aspect of life, except where his heart was involved. They dated for a whirlwind 6 months before she moved in. Our peaceful home dissolved overnight. She insisted I call her Maya. "It feels more modern, don't you think, Grace? Less matronly." She was obsessed with image. When my friends came over, she'd descend in designer loungewear, asking my male friends if they played sports, complimenting their builds. It was cringe-inducing. She'd make comments about how lucky Dad was to have kept his hair and his dad bod in check. My friends would exchange awkward glances. I stopped inviting people over. She spent Dad's money with a breathtaking carelessness. Luxe spa weekends, constant clothing deliveries, redecorating parts of the house in a cold, minimalist style that erased Dad's comfortable, bookish presence. He'd sigh but never stopped her. If it makes her happy, he'd murmur, staring at his budget spreadsheets late at night. The only good thing to come from her return was my sister, Lily. Maya was furious when she found out she was pregnant. She ranted about ruined silhouettes and career pauses. Dad begged her to reconsider. I heard their fights through the floorboards. One was enough of a burden. Sam, I didn't sign up for this, she'd shriek. Something in Dad's voice, a raw, desperate hope, finally wore her down, or perhaps she calculated the social capital of a second-chance family narrative. She kept the pregnancy, but treated it as a 9-month infirmity. Dad waited on her hand and foot. When Lily was born, Maya's disinterest was absolute. She refused a nurse, hired a night nurse for 2 weeks with Dad money, then left the care to him, and by extension me. Lily became my shadow. I changed diapers, made bottles, sang lullabies. Dad was a devoted father all over again, his love for Lily a pure, bright thing. We became a trio, Dad, Lily, and me. Maya was a disruptive tenant in our lives. Dad's diagnosis of pancreatic cancer was a sucker punch to the soul. The strongest man I knew diminished before our eyes. Lily and I, both in our 20s by then, became his primary caregivers. We took shifts, managed medications, held bowls when the chemo was too much. Maya's response was to become more absent. The hospice vibe is so depressing, she complained, leaving for networking dinners and weekend trips. The day Dad had a crisis with his pain management, I called her from the hospital. She answered from a boutique fitting room. Can't you handle it, Grace? You're so good at this sort of thing. I'm in the middle of a transaction. He died at home, with Lily and me holding his hands. Maya was at a gallery opening. She showed up 2 hours later, her eyes dry. The reading of the will was a masterpiece of quiet foresight. Dad, wise to the last, had left his entire estate, the house, his investments, his life insurance, in a trust for Lily and me. We were the trustees and sole beneficiaries. To Maya, he left a single, lump-sum cash inheritance. It was a significant amount, but not lifetime sustaining, given her habits. It was, as his lawyer gently explained, a final provision. He had provided for her, but he had protected us in our home. Maya's face curdled with rage. This is an insult. After everything I did for him, this house is mine. She threatened lawsuits, but the documents were ironclad. Eventually, she wheedled and wept, and we, in a moment of weakness, or perhaps a lingering echo of Dad's soft heart, agreed to let her stay in the house temporarily, paying a nominal rent. We wanted a formal arrangement, a line in the sand. She agreed, resentfully. Her grief period lasted approximately 6 weeks. Then came Jason. He was 28 to her 52, a personal trainer with the emotional depth of a puddle. He moved in within a month, treating our family home like his own conquest. He'd make snide remarks about Dad's old man taste in furniture and books. You girls need to lighten up, live a little. The dead are dead, he'd say, cracking a protein shake. The final straw was Dad's study. We cleared most of it, but several boxes remained in the basement, his university thesis, his father's old fishing tackle box, his collection of vintage maps, Mom's letters from before I was born, which he'd inexplicably kept, and his prized possession, a hand-carved wooden sailing ship his own grandfather had made. We were working through the grief in stages, visiting the boxes like one might visit a grave. One Tuesday, we went to retrieve the ship to take to an antique restorer. The basement storage area was empty. The boxes were gone. Jason cleared out that old junk, Maya said airily, painting her nails at the kitchen island. The basement was a fire hazard. Jason smirked. Took it all to the dump yesterday. You're welcome. Place feels bigger already. The world went silent, then roared back in a red haze. You threw it away? Lily's voice was a whisper of pure horror. It was clutter. Jason shrugged. You'll thank me later. Holding on to relics keeps you stuck. I saw the ship in my mind's eye, the delicate masts, the carefully sanded hull, the love in every cut. Gone, crushed in a garbage truck. My grandfather's letters, my father's youthful dreams, all in a landfill. Get out, I said, my voice terrifyingly calm. Excuse me? Maya drew herself up. Get out of our house. Now. Lily was crying silent, furious tears. You can't just, Jason began. We own it. You are a guest who just destroyed our property. Our history. You have 30 days. Consider this your official notice. The following month was a war of attrition. Maya played the victim on social media. Jason postured. They refused to believe we'd follow through. They planned a wedding, a garish, hurried affair set for a Saturday in July. The invites were glittery and tasteless. We ignored them. On the morning of their wedding, while they were at a lavish salon getting prepared, we acted. With the help of my uncle and 2 close friends, we packed every single item belonging to Maya and Jason. We were meticulously careful, even gentle. We didn't want accusations of damage. We boxed her designer clothes, his weightlifting gear, her expensive skincare, their garish new bedding. We stacked it all neatly on the driveway, under a tarpaulin in case of rain. The locksmith came and changed every lock. My uncle, a burly former contractor, installed new security cameras at the front and back doors. We ordered pizza and waited, a quiet, determined vigil. They returned just after midnight, Jason's sports car roaring up the drive. Maya was still in her wedding dress, a slinky white sheath, now stained with wine. Jason was in a rumpled tuxedo shirt. They were laughing, leaning on each other, until they saw the mountain of boxes. Confusion, then dawning horror, then rage. Maya fumbled with her key. It didn't work. She started jiggling the handle. The porch light flicked on, and I opened the door, Lily standing solidly beside me. What is the meaning of this? Maya shrieked, her mascara smudged. My things. My home. This hasn't been your home for a long time, I said. Your 30 days are up. We provided alternative accommodation. I gestured to the boxes. You wicked, ungrateful little bitch, she spat. After everything I've sacrificed. You sacrificed nothing, Lily said, her voice clear and cold. You took from Dad until there was nothing left. You don't get to take his house, too. Jason swaggered forward, trying to intimidate. You can't do this. We have rights. My uncle stepped out from behind us, crossing his arms. His silent presence was more effective than any shout. The police are already aware of the situation. I lied smoothly. You are now trespassing. Your belongings are there. I suggest you call a friend with a van. The transformation on Maya's face was something to behold. The anger melted into a panicked, calculating desperation. Please, girls. My daughters. It's my wedding night. Where will we go? The word daughters tasted like ash. You should have thought of that before you let him trash our father's memory, I said. You made your choice. Over and over again. They stood there, humiliated and furious, on the driveway of the house that had been our father's dream. Eventually, Jason pulled out his phone and called a buddy. As they started loading boxes into a borrowed SUV, I handed Maya a single, small item we found tucked in the back of her closet during our packing. The faded wallet photo of her, the one Dad had kept all those years. He loved the idea of you until the day he died, I said quietly, so only she could hear. But we never needed the idea. We had the real thing. Him. She looked at the photo, then at my face. which, as she'd noted long ago, was so much like my father's. For a fleeting second, I saw something raw and unspeakably sad in her eyes. Not remorse for us, perhaps, but for the life she might have had, the love she had so carelessly discarded. Then she shut down, crumpled the photo into her sequin clutch, and turned away. They left. We changed our numbers, blocked them on everything. The house felt different, lighter, quieter, but also emptier in a way that had nothing to do with furniture. It was Dad's house again, finally. We spent weeks cleansing it, repainting the rooms Maya had redone, putting Dad's books back on the shelves. Lily moved into the master bedroom. I kept my old room. We planted a tree in the backyard in his memory. We heard through the grapevine that Maya and Jason blew through her inheritance within 2 years. The marriage didn't last. She moved to a different city. We never heard from her again. Sometimes on quiet evenings, Lily and I sit in Dad's study, which we restored as a library. We don't have the ship or the letters, but we have the stories. We have the home he built for us. And we have each other, a family forged not by biology or obligation, but by the kind of love that shows up, stays, and fights to protect what matters. It's the only inheritance we ever really needed.